Okay, we're going to look at some of your homework problems from your section 10.2. So if you want to follow along with me, you'll need your calculator for this one for sure. We're using in 10.2, we start out with using I equals PRT. Simple interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. And the big thing is to make sure your rate and time are in the same units. If it's a yearly rate, which it normally is, or if it's the default thing is to say it's a yearly rate. You can notice on this first question it says annual rate. So if it says annual rate, yearly rate, that means time should also be in years. If it should say monthly rate, let's see if I see one of those down below here. Maybe we'll hit one. I don't see one right offhand, but sometimes that does occur. It'll say that it's a monthly rate or a daily rate or something, so it could happen. And right here it says that the rate is an annual unless otherwise stated, and that's kind of the default, like I said, annual rate. Here, assume annual rate. The rate is annual. All right, well, hopefully your teacher put in some variety for you, and we'll hit one in a minute. But if rate is annual, time needs to be in annual too. It needs to be in years, so that's important. Okay, so first problem, time is in years, so we're ready to roll. We put in our principal as 440. Your rate is 3.75. We always move that 2 left to make it into a decimal before putting into an equation. That's kind of true always. Decimal, your percent should be changed to decimals before inputting into an equation. And then years, 4.25. So all of that is known on the same side. They're just multiplied. So we hit our calculator, hit those buttons, 440 times 0.0375 times 4.25 equals, it comes out to be 70.125. Now assume that you round to the nearest cent. Since this is money, you want to round to cents place, which is hundredths place. This 5 does round it up, so it's $70.13. Okay, number 2 is very similar, except our time is given in days. So we always want to convert to years if it's an annual rate. So days, we divide by 360 in this case. It says assume 360. Now I know we never have 360 days in a year, but that just makes it an easier calculation. A lot of these will say that, assume 360. All right, so I equals PRT is our formula for simple interest. We know the principal is 800. The 8 will be 0.045 as a decimal, and the time will be 60 divided by 360. So again, we type it in our calculator. Some of you may want to go 60 divided by 360 first, get that decimal, then you won't have to use a parenthesis. Sometimes I do that. Times 0.045 times 800. You just need to get those 3 amounts multiplied together. But that came out exactly to be 6. I'm going to check my answer. I have the answers printed off so I can check myself. Yeah, it came out exactly to be 6.00 to the nearest penny, so $6. That's the interest that was earned on this money. All right, number 3, determine simple interest. Again, this time it's given in months. So months, we want to divide by 12 to convert that to years. Always converting to years if it's a yearly interest rate. So I equals PRT. Looking for interest again, we know the principal, we know the rate. Now I know this seems like, oh, well look, I did hit one that was different. This is an interest rate per day. Oh good, we do get to have some variety. I thought maybe I didn't do as I had hoped. But this interest rate is per day, and that's why it's such a tiny amount. You might notice that seems odd. We do need to change it to a decimal. That's always true by going 2 left. Let's see, did I get the right amount of zeros? See, 1 place, 2 place would make 1, 2, 3. Oh, too many zeros. Should have 3 zeros. Per day, so the time needs to be in days actually, so never mind that dividing by 12. To change months into days, you have to figure out how many days is in a month, and we assume 360 in a year, which means we're rounding off to just 30 days in each month. So 30 days times 9, 30 times 9 makes 270. So there's 270 days there. So we've got 0.00044 and then 270 days. So again, the rate is in days, so the time needs to be how many days was that. All right, so 434 times 0.00044 times 270 equals 51.5592. To the nearest penny, that would be right here, is 51.56. And I've got those little answers. I felt like I need to check every now and then. $51.56 is exactly right. So again, that one was a little tricky, I guess, because it was given in months, and you know, our months are always different amount. February has 28 or 29. August has 31. So how do you know how many days are in 9 months? But where it says assume 360 days in a year, that is averaging out to say there's 30 days every month. So 30 times 12, you know, would make 360. So that was our key to tell us to times by 30 in each month, and there's 9 months, so we would say that was 270 days. Now I know that might seem like maybe that's not exactly right, but that is the go-to way to calculate that, what we need to do here. Also, if you're in doubt, and you probably know this by this point, you can click View Example, and it will tell you the thinking of the program, the programmer that programmed the problem, really. So it tells you kind of what they're going for in the problem, and I would expect that would also have explained that detail. All right, moving on. Number 4. This time, same question, it looks like, but given in a different kind of format, and it is given in months, and it is an annual rate. So back to annual rates. So months divided by 12, like I started to do up there. So 9 months would be 9/12 of a year. So it's like 3/4 of a year, you might say, or 75% of a year at 9 months. But to change months to years, we divide by 12. So I equals PRT again and again, right? We've got $1,050. Now notice this rate is 6.5%. It's still a percent, but a 0.5%, change your fraction to a decimal, is 0.5. Then we go to left. Our input is 0.065 there. And then our time is that 9/12. And that's what we multiply. Again, you might want to take 9 divided by 12. Go ahead and get that decimal amount. You can see 9 divided by 12 is 0.75. Then times it by the other two values. Oh, I forgot my 6.5 there. And then times 1,050. We get 51.1875. To the nearest penny, that's this hundredths place. The 7 does round that up to a 9. So it should be 51.19. And again, we're figuring interest. All of these so far have been figuring the I part of it, how much interest or use of your money, like bonus money, if you're getting it. It's like the extra that you grow on top of your principal that you started with. All right, again, we're doing a simple interest rate. I equals PRT. And principal is 557.08. Rate is 8.9, so move it back to left, makes it 0.089, and it's given in days, 73 days. And again, this calendar that we have, it's not always the exact amount of years. We have leap years and stuff, so they give us some information, and that's kind of the default in figuring these in all your calculations. Assume 360 when in doubt, but hopefully, you know, they'll tell us, so we'll feel a little more comfortable with that. But 360 is kind of the norm to round these to make figuring easier. So days change to years. If it's given in days and it's an annual rate, we need to change it to how many years is 73 days, and it's 73 out of 360 of a year. So that's our multiplication. To save time, I'm just going to say what that one comes out to be. You can type that in your calculator and check that out as well. Oh, I probably could have typed it in quicker than I am checking it. Sorry about that, guys. I guess I'm being lazy. Okay, number 5 should be $10.05. $10.05 interest. All right. Now we're going to mix it up a little bit on number 6. Number 6, we're still using the I equals PRT formula, but this time we know what I is. I is given. So it's going to cause us to do a little algebra where we know the amount over here and we're missing a part on the equation side. We know the principal, 1575. We don't know the rate, and we know the time is 4 years. And we assume that it's given in years, and the rate will be in years as well. All right, so what we do, these are all multiplied, so we multiply the two parts together. The 1575 times 4 can be combined to be 6,300. So we have $100.80 interest equals 6,300 when we take this times this and then put the R on the end. And then we have equation solving, back to algebra. To solve that, you divide by what's with your variable. Since that's a multiplier, it's multiplied by R. Divide will solve that, so we divide on each side. $100.80 divided by 6,300 equals 0.016. So we're looking for a rate. So remember, in the equation it always comes out without the percent sign. We have to move the percent sign back and forth in these equations. So we have to go to right to pull the percent sign back in to write it as 1.6%. That's our final answer here. All right, next problem. I equals PRT. We know I again, $108. We don't know P. We know rate is 6%. 6% means the decimals at the end go 2 left, makes 0.06. And time is in months. And we assume that we're looking for years if I see nothing else mentioned. So divide months by 12 to change that into years. So we can simplify, sort of like we did on the last one, multiply what you can that's together on this side. So 9 divided by 12, and then times that by 0.06, that will be P times 0.045. Then, because that's times, there's P times R times T, all those are multiplied. To solve them, we divide out the multiplier. So divide that to each side, and we've got 108 divided by 0.045. That will be P equals 2,400. So that should be our principal amount. Round to the nearest cent. It didn't have any cents on it, but we could say 0.00. I don't know if the computer would count off. If it does, always send me one of those emails. If anything about the computer program gives you grief and you think you're right and it's just a technicality and something like it didn't count your pennies in there or something. Okay. Number 8. PRT. I equals PRT. Okay, we've got I again, $2.45.20. P is given, $961.58. R is given. So we're getting a little taste of each one we can solve for, and T is what we don't know this time. All right, go ahead and multiply what you can. Those two pieces, the 961.58 times 0.085 is 81.7343. T equals 245.20. And even though I know the problem says round to the nearest whole number or something, you don't want to round in the intermediate steps. So you want to be careful with your rounding and keep all the decimal points given that you can until you get to the very end. So we're dividing by 81.7343 to get our most accurate answer, 245.20. And your calculator may have this feature, that A and S button. Let me mention that if I haven't before. The A and S button is over the minus sign in a lot of calculators, so a lot of calculators have that, and it'll pull up your last calculation. So if you get weary of writing this down and having to remember or typing in the numbers again, you can use this A and S button if you have it. So I would, on my next line, type in 245.20 divided by A and S will pull up all those values there, and that way I'm sure I don't round off or type it in wrong or something. So that's what I'm using, and I get 2.9999. I get a long decimal. Let's see. Round to the nearest whole year. Well, it's easy to see that rounds up to 3. So number 8, I'm going to check my work here. Number 8 does round up exactly to 3. All right, I think I'll pause there and I'll come back on the video to continue on. So catch you in a minute.